You're listening to the 12th Man Fan Jam on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel.
Hey, 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 ram it. Do you know how to ram it? Ram it, yeah. You know how to ram it.
What the
And now it's time for another edition of the 12th Man Fan Jam with your hosts, the Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Allen Church of Seahawk Positivity.
Yes, thank you, Magic Voice. This is the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Allen Church of Seahawk Positivity, and welcome one and all to a very special Rams Part 2 edition of the 12th Man Fan Jam, the show made up of Seahawk fans from around the world talking about your Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. Over the next few moments we share together, we hope you are entertained and you are enlightened as we discuss the upcoming game for your Super Bowl defending Seattle Seahawks as they get ready to take on the St. Louis Rams. So sit back, relax, grab a desired beverage or scent of your choice, and remember, you can still get that hard-to-find gift for me. As is the usual with every show, we are not alone. No, I am joined by a ragtag group of diehard Seahawk fans from around the world known as the 12th Man Fan Jam Posse. First, from the state of Washington, our very own news hound. His 12th Man editorials can be found on the SeahawksSalad.com website. He's thankful for a clean litter box. You know him as Shadowhawk. We know him as Will.
Hi, Moses. I'm coming to you live on location from my parents' den in Oak Harbor, Washington. Happy Boxing Day.
Happy Boxing Day, everyone. Indeed. Speaking of boxing, in the state of California, we have a gentleman who has to go boxing often because he lives just up the road from 49er headquarters. Our own man behind enemy lines. You know him as Zorn76. We know him as Statsman Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hey, everybody. And I'm here in a city where the head coach is, I guess, has his desk and office cleaned out before his final game.
And you know, I think when you say that about the 49ers, the kids dig that. And the kids are here. Kids. Yeah, they kind of dig that. We'll talk more about that later, I'm sure. We also have special guests in the guest seats this evening, or in one guest seat sitting on each other's lap. I don't know who's on whose. They can tell us later. Also from the wonderful state of Washington, dear friends of the 12th Man Fan Jam show. In fact, last year, at this very situation, last game of the year, we had them on for a special newlywed game. They had just gotten married. Two Hall of Fame fans from the Seattle Seahawks. You know her as Hockey Chick, and you know him as Cannonball. We know them as Brad and Laura. Hi, guys.
Hey. I'm not Hockey Chick.
Thank God. What are you guys doing this evening?
Working on TeamSpeak 3. It's a wonderful application.
Isn't it a wonderful application?
Absolutely. Kind of a fan, but not like a 12th fan on this thing.
Brad, you got a joke to kick us off with this evening?
I once had a cow that wouldn't give any milk, so I sold him.
Thank you. He'll be here all night. Yeah.
TeamSpeak 3's biggest fan.
Yes. Yeah, TeamSpeak 3's biggest fan. We are so glad they've decided to join us for our show this evening. It's going to be a fun one. And we've had our introduction, so let me tell you how this show goes. For those who've listened before, we want to thank you for joining again. For those who are listening for the first time, don't worry. We will be gentle, but be careful. Brad and Laura are, slow clapping it out later. So the show's run like this. First quarter, we'll have news from Will. The second quarter, we will review the Cards game. I'm sure there's some things to talk about from that Arizona Cardinals game. At a 2-minute warning, we'll redo our predictions, our prognostications, and our game balls from last week, and I will take a lot of grief for that, I'm sure. Halftime, we have a special visit. Brad and Laura have no idea, but we have a very special guest coming in. I'm going to step out at halftime, and we're going to have Seahawk Claus come in and distribute gifts to all of you and talk a little bit about the Hawkaday season. So it's very, very exciting. Seahawk Claus here on the show at halftime. He just had a really rough day or two, so he is giving us this time after working very hard. Quarter 3, keys to the Rams game. We're going to talk about the Rams game and what we should expect from them. And, of course, the fourth quarter, we do our predictions, our prognostications. Yes, ma'am?
Slow clap it out already.
We'll slow clap it. And it's very bad. And of our game. I'm sure we'll have some great predictions for that. But before we start, we'd like to remind you, of course, you can like, share, subscribe to the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel. Contact us on this thread or in the comments section of this video or for feedback, or email us at 12thmanfanjam@gmail.com. Tell us what you think, good or bad. We don't mind. We love the attention. And now it's time for news. Yes, news of the NFL world while you were too busy returning those gifts from your uncle that you don't like. Here is our news hound, Shadowhawk. Hi, Will. What you got for us this evening?
Well, Moses, my first item comes from the great state of, well, Ohio, and the not-so-great state of the Cleveland Browns. As you know, the Browns a couple weeks ago turned to Johnny Manziel, and that didn't work out very well. He had a horrible first game, got injured his second game, and is on injured reserve. Brian Hoyer, their erstwhile starting quarterback, was also hurt last week, and it looks like he's not going to be able to play. So the Browns reached out to somebody who was with them in the preseason, Rex Grossman, to see if he would be interested in returning and collecting a game check of at least $56,000.
Woohoo!
Grossman said thanks, but no thanks. He's busy apparently bringing his whole family into town for the Christmas holidays and couldn't work out the logistics of a return to the Browns. So rather than try to make that work, he could have made at least $56,000. Rex Grossman said, I don't want to play for this team either. So they will be starting undrafted rookie Connor Shaw this week against the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, when you started this with the great state of Ohio, I almost said, wait a minute. Let's just start right there. The great state of Ohio. No, I don't think so. But
I was being facetious, Moses.
Yes. So Rex Grossman opted on family logistics over a $50,000 check to play one game.
That about sums it up.
All right.
Mama said no.
Or he just, well, you know what, Brad? I think he just looked at the Browns and said, I've got to come up with a reason not to go. That's what I think. But
Good enough.
Zorny, if I gave you $56,000, would you go quarterback the Browns?
Yeah, after I take out a life insurance policy, sure, why not?
Oh, wouldn't we all for $56,000? Yeah, I think $56,000. I think I'm with Rex Grossman. I go, oh God, I got this thing I got to do. I'd love to come out, but the thing and the family, and I just can't. I don't know. Laura, do you think you made the right move by staying home?
I would have done it. I mean,
What, come out?
Because we're okay with that.
Yeah, we're all right with that. It's a family show, but we can change. Will, what else you got for us this evening?
Well, Moses, have you ever noticed it's never a good idea when players or their representatives say that they would take a pay cut, take a hometown discount, or anything to stay with their current teams?
When's the last time I heard that? I don't remember.
This isn't Costco.
It isn't?
No, afraid not. And Andre Johnson, Houston Texans receiver, is learning that lesson. A few days ago, his uncle/advisor, and also a bad idea, Andre Melton told the Houston Chronicle that Johnson, quote, doesn't mind taking a pay cut. Johnson, however, was asked that very question by ESPN.com, and his response, who said that? When they told him it was his Uncle Andre, he said, really? I don't know where that came from. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. So Johnson went on to say he never made any statements about a pay cut, and that because nobody has approached him about taking a pay cut. Yeah, right. So basically, if you're making a lot of money, if you're wanting to re-sign with a team, just don't say anything, or don't have your representatives say anything.
Well, I think the actual quote from Andre Johnson was actually, "Oh hell no, I ain't doing that."
I'm sure that was the essence of it. Yes.
Yeah, basically. Zorny, would you take a pay cut to stay with the Texans?
Not based on the words of an 80-proof uncle, no.
I don't think I would either. Brad, Laura, would you take a pay cut to be with the Texans?
no.
No, I'd have to go to
Absolutely
Houston. Yeah. Best thing that ever happened to Houston was Earl Campbell, and he's long gone.
Amen to that. Well, and Hakeem Olajuwon, the dream. Let's face it.
Yeah.
That brings back nightmares.
I know basketball's dead to me.
Very true. But, Hakeem was the dream. That's what I've been told. But was more like a nightmare for most of us. No, I don't
So
think
that means that after like a game, when he's all hot, he's a wet dream, or what? How's that work?
Well, I don't want to really get into my relationship with Hakeem Olajuwon here on the show, but I'll
or
tell
wet
you,
dreams for that matter.
yeah, or wet dreams. But we can clean that up later. Will, your thought on Houston? Pay cut. Is it a good idea? You said it's not a good idea to take a pay cut, or at least say you're going to. I mean, last time we had a guy named Golden Tate. I think he said that, didn't he?
Yeah, and that didn't really work out well for him either, because people understandably assumed that, oh yeah, he's going to stick with Seattle, and then when he didn't like Seattle's contract offer, they called him a liar. But yeah, just not a good idea. Don't talk about that sort of thing. And that's why I've enjoyed most of the contract negotiations done by this team have been done in-house. We never really heard anything about KJ Wright or Cliff Averill until the deals were done, thankfully. So just keep all that out of the media. No good can come of it.
If the Hawks want you, you're going to be here. Period.
Yeah, I think so too. I think pretty much. I think you're right there. If they want you, they're going to find a way to get you here. And that's the thing about this front office is with all the craziness that's coming up and everyone's going, oh, look out because, they're going to have, all these big contracts assigned. I have the utmost total faith in our front office to get done what needs to get done. I don't even worry about it. I just know they're going to figure it out. I don't even sit here and try to figure it out because I know they're going to. So you're right. If they want you here, you'll get here. No doubt about that. Will, what's your final story for the evening?
Well, Moses, it's been pretty well documented that teams who play the Seahawks have had trouble the following week, and a pretty good stretch of teams who have played Seattle have lost the following week's games.
Yeah.
But there's another streak going on in the NFL, and it's a bit more impressive and a lot more pathetic, I have to say. The Tennessee Titans is first reported by Peter King in his Monday morning quarterback column, are in the midst of a 9-game losing streak. And what makes this interesting is that each of the 9 teams they've lost to was on a losing streak of their own coming into that game. And every single one of those teams beat Tennessee despite their losing streak.
So the Titans are the great losing streak stoppers of the NFL.
They're the slump busters. Okay, here are the stats here. Tennessee has lost 9 straight games to teams with a combined 34-58 record entering those games. They've lost 9 straight to teams that had lost 24 consecutive games entering those games. And Tennessee has lost 9 straight by an average of 13.1 points. So if you need a win, hope you're playing the Titans.
No doubt. Man, slump busters. Brad and Laura, you want to schedule the Titans next year at all? Like maybe 16 games or?
No, I'm all jacked up about playing in Santa Clara, and taking number 50 and getting the trifecta.
I like that thought. Mark, do you think are the 49ers talking about playing the Titans more often next year down in San Francisco?
Well, that'd be a nice start for him. I'm shocked that not even Clipboard Jesus can save the Titans. So,
but that hair is fantastic.
Throw me a touchdown.
Your own Clipboard Jesus. But his hair's fantastic. So good for him. They have the best hair.
Rub it in, why don't you?
Well, I've got a burr cut too, Will, so, you're not alone there.
Yeah, my head is like heaven. There'll be no parting there.
Oh, dear.
You're all jealous. Y'all hating on Clipboard Jesus because of his hair. I don't know, Zorny. Do you have Clipboard Jesus hair, or do you have more like Cannonball?
yeah, no. In fact, I was just at the hair club the other day, so I'm hurting there, pal.
He's
For
not
men?
just a member. He's the
Yeah.
club president.
Yes, he is. I'm sure he is. I'm sure they love it when he comes in with a Seahawk shirt. Will, thank you so much for the news this evening.
My pleasure.
It's the end of the first quarter, bitches.
We'll take a quick short break. This is the end of the first quarter. We'll come back. Hey, let's talk about that Cardinal game when we come back. Might have something to talk about there. We'll see. We'll take a quick station identification, and we'll be right back.
1, 2, 3.
And now it's time for the second quarter of the 12th Man Fan Jam. Here to take you through the second quarter is once again our host, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Allen Church of Seahawk Positivity.
Yes, thank you, Magic Voice of the 12th Man Fan Jam. Welcome to the second quarter of a very special Rams edition part 2 of your 12th Man Fan Jam show. We have just done the news in the first quarter, and this quarter we're going to talk about that Cardinal game. Big game down in the desert. Oh, the Cardinal fans were all excited. The biggest game they've ever played. And I hesitated to tell them I think they played in the Super Bowl. But anyway, biggest regular season game I guess they've ever played. They got all excited. And it started off kind of slow, and it was in the third quarter. It was 14-6, and they had the ball, so there was still a chance. And then the floodgates opened up, and next thing you know, the Seahawks win 35-6. Brad and Laura, as we were in the third quarter there, 14-6, were you concerned, or did you think we had it well in hand?
Oh, I'm always concerned, unless we're blowing somebody out, you get a little bit concerned. Hauschka was really concerning me. I still don't understand how he could miss 3 field goals. The guy never misses. So that was a little concerning, considering many games we played, we had to rely on field goals to win. So that had me a little bit concerned. But once the beast,
That's just a funk. He worked through that. He'll be fine.
Yeah, it was just weird.
Yeah.
Well, I actually have the answer for that later in the show. And I kind of blame myself for that because, as you will find out in our prognostications, I was the one that said Hauschka would kick not just 3 field goals. He would kick one at least 55 yards or longer, and he would wind up being the star of the game. So, of course, I kind of blame myself for Hauschka missing all 3. So, I will not be doing that
As
this
well
week.
you should.
Yeah.
Are you telling you committed a cardinal sin?
In this case, yes, I did. But yeah, I kind of blame myself for the Hauschka thing, but we'll talk about that later. Brad, what about your feelings on the game? It was 14-6, the third quarter. We just weren't putting these guys away right before the dam broke open and the Red Sea was shoved away. How did you feel going in? Were you worried?
I'm not at that place again where I don't fear any team. I felt that way at the end of the last couple of years. Even when we lost to the Falcons back in 2012, I didn't fear them because I knew we could go and put on the pads and go 100 yards, 11 on 11 with anybody. Then all of a sudden, you just wait for the mojo to happen, and voila, there's Mr. Luke Wilson going across the middle and busting it down and taking it to the house, and then right when the icing on the cake, of course, was Wilson at the end. But my Lord, that run by the beast, that's something that is something out of the annals of history that we'll be talking about to our grandchildren when we die.
Absolutely, and that was amazing. Luke Wilson just had an amazing game. 2 touchdowns. I knew that last year they really liked him. They liked the way he caught the ball. Wow, did he catch the ball against the Cardinals, and he looked great. Really helped. To me is a huge thing because between Helfet and Wilson and Moyaki, if we can temper the loss of Zach Miller with these guys, I think that's huge. And I think he had a huge breakout game, but I don't think he's done yet. I think this is just the start for Luke Wilson. Will, what were your thoughts about the game as we went into the third quarter and it was still 14-6?
Well, I wasn't scared because I obviously we had shown in the second quarter that we can get a big play there, we can get a drive going. Definitely a lot of nervous energy, and I was actually with Brad and Laura down in Auburn at Mr. and Mrs. Seahawks' house, so there was a lot of nervous energy in that room. But just a lot of confidence in this team because even if it's not looking good at the moment, that it can just happen in one play, or they can grind something out, or they can get the key turnover. Just this team is just never out of it, and I think that gives all of us a lot of confidence.
Yeah, I do too. Zordy, what was your feeling about the game when it was close in the third?
Well, as you know, Dennis, through my in-game text, the Hauschka thing was weird, but he's so awesome, he'll be fine. with him, any one of those field goals, well, the game, it turns out, was already won. Any one of those was pretty much going to nail it down. And when he missed the 47-yarder, I was most surprised at that. But, he's a Pro Bowl, caliber kicker, so he'll be good. We had so completely dominated this team. That's what was weird. It wasn't quite being reflected in the score, because I think in the third quarter, at the end of the third, I don't even know if Arizona had 100 total yards of offense. So it was frustrating, but I knew one way or another we're going to win.
Yeah, I did too. It's funny, the Seahawk fans that we are now as opposed to 10, 20 years ago, we're always waiting for that other shoe to drop. Okay, well, they made it to the Super Bowl, but then they didn't beat the Steelers. Or, okay, they made it to the playoffs, but they'll never get through this team or that team. Or there was always a reason to, as a Seahawk fan, to expect mediocrity, I guess, for lack of a better word. And now that the Carroll era, we all have this feeling, and I think it's very justifiable, because I felt the same way, guys. I wasn't worried. We were moving the ball, for one thing. I thought we were moving the ball well. For another thing, I didn't see them scoring touchdowns. So I turned to my son. I said, well, they're going to have to get 3 more field goals to even stay in this game. And I just felt confident. You feel confident with this team. And I've never felt this confident about my team ever than I have in the last 3 years. And, even when we were 13-3 in 2005 and went to the Super Bowl, and then they lost, and you kind of went, well, there we go again. Same old Seahawks losing the big game. And these guys, not only do they win the big games, they love the big games. They relish it. They love the spotlight, and they love to be in these big games. And in a Cardinal game, nobody had a bigger spotlight on him, Laura, than Beast Mode. Came out with a hurt stomach, upset stomach. He had been vomiting, and we needed him in this game. I thought they were running very well, to be honest, the other guys. But then, of course, that huge run that everyone's talking about. What did you and Brad go through on that run?
Oh, man, I was pretty much, I think the whole entire place was just jumping around and screaming and like, oh, my gosh, there it is again,
Uh-huh.
Wow, yeah, no, it was incredible.
Yeah, was he in bounds?
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought. I was like, wait a minute, check the replay. I got to make sure he was in bounds, because, you don't want to get overexcited and then realize he stepped out, because that's what I saw right away was how close he was to the sideline. So,
And we knew he was going to grab the family jewels going in. I knew it when he was at the 20-yard line.
Yeah, I think we all kind of knew that. It reminded me a lot of course, the Saints run, and what reminded me is my own view of it, because it just seemed to go in slow motion. And I remember thinking, cool, first down. Oh yeah, we're in field goal range, and he just kept going. I kept thinking, oh wait, it's not. Oh my God, he's going to score. I just kept going step after step after step. Will, what was your view on that run?
Again, it was just, did he step out of bounds? Please tell me he didn't step out of bounds. He stayed in bounds. Woo! But yeah, this one, I remember the original Beastquake run. So does my dad, because I jumping up and down and hugging him and patting him on the back. I practically killed him at that game. Sorry, Dad. But it's just incredible that he could have a run like that, not once but twice. And one more thing, I've heard Cardinal fans complaining that Ricardo Lockett's block when Lynch was near the sidelines was a block in the back that should have been called. Funny thing is, you look closely at that, and then look closely, there's a reverse angle shot in the broadcast after the ensuing kickoff where you see Lockett coming in, and one hand is on the back of Rashad Johnson's shoulder, but his right hand is on the front of Rashad Johnson's shoulder, and he was blocking him from the side, and he actually with that right hand. So if anybody tells you, oh, there was a block in the back, it should have been called back, no, it was a block in the side, which is perfectly legal.
And Zorni, what a great job Lockett did. 4 blocks on that play, the very original block in the play, the spring him, and then going down and taking those 2 out of bounds and giving Peterson a little extra, and then even getting in the way of Cromartie so that that Marshawn had no chance of being caught. It was just an amazing play, wasn't it? Zorni?
I'm sorry, bro. You cut out there for a moment.
I'm sorry.
On the Beastquake run, 2 things. One, I didn't anticipate it because when he got to the sideline, I thought like everyone else he might be out of bounds. And then 2, the first thing I check on any touchdown, which is kind of sad, is if to see you're going to see that little yellow flag moniker pop down, because you just never know with these refs. But once it was all good, it's to me, it's unreal. It's Marshawn Lynch and the vision he has and the power, but his footwork, especially on the sideline. I mean, it's like he turns into some kind of like Fred Astaire. He can just tiptoe on the sidelines till he regains the center of gravity, and then he just puts it in overdrive. I mean, his feet and the way he can manipulate his whole body and contort and everything, especially on the sideline, was just amazing.
It certainly
Like a
was.
center of gravity, it's a pendulum of gravity.
Absolutely. Let's close this with one final thought. My son, 9, last couple years has really gotten into Seahawk football. Too young to remember, Chris Warren, John L. Williams, Ricky Waters, all the running backs. And Seattle has had a great amount of running backs for a very long time. Then there was a big long dry spell. But my question, and I'll start with Brad and Laura, where right now today, where do you put Marshawn as far as Seattle running backs? Where is he on that list for you?
I put Marshawn at the top of the heap. Sure, we had Sean Alexander back in the Holmgren era, and he scored a mess of touchdowns. And he had an amazing left side. I would give Walter Jones and the Antichrist that played next to him kudos, but I don't know if you put Marshawn Lynch behind that line in 2005, it would be unthinkable what he would have done. So I would consider Marshawn just the most punishing runner I've ever seen in the history of Seahawks football. What about you?
Oh, absolutely. Totally agree.
Good. Will, where do you put him?
I'm not going to make determination as to who the best running back in Seahawk football is. I will say, without a doubt, Marshawn Lynch is the most fun running back to watch that Seattle has ever had, and I hope we can keep him around here for a while longer. I'm not ready to see him go.
Yeah, I agree with that. Zorny, where do you put him?
It's, I guess I found that case. It may sound like, well, he's the most recent one, and he just had the run, and that's why a lot of people remember him. He's my favorite just based on pure effort. Whether he's fighting in the backfield to get back to the line of scrimmage because the line's been blown up, or he has a run like he did Sunday in Arizona. He brings it every single play, 1,000%. No matter what's going on off the field, no matter what. I've never seen this guy. Well, I guess the only plays he had to take off is because he's literally getting sick or whatever was happening there on the sideline. But he, Alexander was the most prolific, if you will, statistical running back. And he was a very good running back. But Marshawn he has the heart and the talent. And he just fights to the bitter end, So
I agree with that. And I think when the team feeds off of Marshawn, not just from yardage, but from attitude. When they see him out there knocking people over, how can you as a defender on the sideline see, your running back, on a 3rd and 3, let's say, come down the sideline, instead of going out of bounds, turn inside and nail a defensive back and get another couple yards? That would make me want to run out right now and start hitting somebody. I mean, I think the whole team feeds off his attitude, not just his yardage, but his attitude. And I have to agree with you all. I think right now I would have to put him at the top of the heap without question. We are now at the 2-minute warning. And what we do at 2-minute warning is we go over last week's predictions, prognostications, and game balls. And so our predictions are up on your screen right now. I said 23-10. Mark said 20-13. Dustin said 24-6. Will said 17-6, and Matt said 20-9. The score was 35-6. So I think we got to go with Dustin on that one. So Dustin, if you're out there listening, congratulations. You got the best score of all of our predictions. Although we all did pretty good on that. I mean, we all had them under 13 points, and we had our guys, at least getting 20 or more, except for Will. Prognostications are up on the board, and this is where I have to do a public apology to the 12th man, the Seahawk Nation, and Stephen Hauschka in particular, because I had Stephen Hauschka kicking a 55-yard field goal, and he was 0 for 3. So I take that blame for myself. However, Mark did say that Baldwin would have 100 yards receiving, and he had 113. Congratulations, Mark. Well done. Kids dig it.
Thank you.
Yes. Dustin said Wagner would have 15 tackles. He had 8. Will said Seattle defense would have a TD, and they did not. And then Matt said that a tight end would get 2 touchdowns. However, he said Cooper Helfet, and it was Luke Wilson had 2 touchdowns. So that's pretty close for Matt. Not Matt. I'm sure Matt was here. He would be telling us how close it was. And then the game balls. And again, once again, I apologize. I gave Hauschka the pregame ball. I promise, Mr. Hauschka, I will never do that again. Mark gave it to Baldwin. Dustin gave it to Wagner. Will gave it to Averill. And Matt gave it to Helfet. I think Baldwin had an incredible game, 113 yards. But I don't know, as far as Brad and Laura, who would you give a game ball to for this game for the Seahawks?
Oh, I'll definitely give it to Luke Wilson.
I'm with you on that. Will, who would you give it to?
I'd give it to Russell Wilson. No disrespect to Luke, who had an incredible game, but Russell Wilson also had an incredible game. He threw some darts. He got that great touchdown run in the fourth quarter. And more and more, you doubt this guy, you end up looking like an idiot.
Very true. Zorni, who would you give it to?
Oh boy, it's kind of take your pick, but RW, I guess that was just statistically, especially his biggest game. Luke Wilson was just such an unlikely to me kind of guy to have the game he did. I would give it to him. And he made some great catches, and the guy is fast. The guy, I thought he was going to get caught from behind on the I think it was the first TD or
right,
whatever. But the guy has wheels, so I give it to him just because that was such a huge game for him to just step up and take over that way.
Yeah, I think I have to give it to Luke Wilson, although all the ones that you talked about were very well-deserved. Another incredible game. And, Marshawn Lynch, coming in, having 100 yards after being sick for a quarter and a half. How about the offensive line? This Cardinal team was supposed to be so dominating.
Big game.
Yeah, and they just came through. And I've talked to some people over Christmas break, of course, that are fans of other teams and say, well, I guess your problem, I guess, is your offensive line. I say, yeah, but we're running 175 yards a game. How bad can our offensive line really be if we're getting that much yardage? But so I think the offensive line had an amazing game against a tough Cardinal team that had really kind of manhandled them up in Seattle. I think they had 7 sacks in Seattle. And I think they maybe had 1 or 2 against Russell down there. So great job by the offensive line.
Holy shit, it's halftime.
And great job by everybody at the end of the first half. We're going to take a quick break here. We will come back at halftime with a very special guest. I will step out here and we'll see if Seahawk Claus has a couple things to give people here. We'll be right back after this brief station identification.
You're listening to the 12th Man Fan Jam on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel.
Last year, my resolution was to stop procrastinating, and I still haven't gotten around to it. So I'm starting a new rule. You shouldn't be allowed to make any New Year's resolutions until you finish your old ones. That'll keep America busy right there. I don't know who came up with this tradition, but is New Year's Day the best time to start a resolution? You wake up at noon, you're hungover. You're not even sure where you are. It's not the time to worry about a new diet. You have bigger priorities. Like, where are your pants? Trying to figure out why there's a banjo in bed with you. You're covered in Cool Whip.
Welcome to halftime of the 12th Man Fan Jam. We hope you're enjoying our show tonight. Moses had to step out, unfortunately, for a few minutes. Got some things to do, some last-minute Christmas shopping. Some gifts to return. However, we do have a special guest from the Pacific Northwest Pole. It is Seahawk Claus.
Hello, 12th Man Fan Jam Show. This is indeed Santa Seahawk Claus. And it's been a busy Hawkaday season. How is everyone this evening?
Much longer.
Well, I've been busy all week giving gifts to all the nice 12th men out there and placing coal in the Niner fan stockings. They'll need the coal because it's quite chilly in Niner Nation right now, isn't it, Mark?
It's colder than Bill Walsh out here.
It's very cold down there, and I gave the Jets Percy Harvin as a gift. Rex Ryan has been a naughty boy, and he deserved it. And Percy was nearly on vacation. He loves being on vacation early this time of year so he can heal his fragile ego and his legs. He's been a very bad boy. And for the Seahawks, I gave them a home game to finish the year to play for home field advantage. It can't get much better than that. And I gave Beast Mode a new grill, and his new grill says Super Bowl 49 champs. And I gave him another one that says yeah, which I think is appropriate. And I gave Russell Wilson a quick grow pill so he can get taller than 6 foot tall so we can stop hearing about how short he is on national great media. I gave Pete Carroll a spin forever top. And finally, I gave Paul Allen a Jimi Hendrix autographed Seahawk jersey. I didn't quite check the authenticity on that one. I probably should have. But I gave the 12th man home field advantage in the playoffs after a victory this Sunday. And I gave the Rams a draft quarterback for dummies book. I gave the Cardinals, I gave them the same thing I gave the Rams. I figured they could use that. Oh, in the Niner organization, they received a brand new shovel to dig their way out of a hole that they've created for themselves. And I also brought presents here for all of you. So I know Moses isn't here, so I will open his present for him. I know he went to 2 Seahawk games this year, and they lost both times. So I brought Moses a nice recliner so he can sit home and stay there from now on and watch the Seahawk games, and then they won't lose. Matt's not here as well. For Matt from merry old England, I brought him a present. It's a video collection of Benny Hill's greatest hits. I never really understand British humor, but I guess he'll get that. And also an autographed picture of Cooper Helfet's butt, so I'm sure he would enjoy that. I don't know, Laura, you might have enjoyed that as well. I'm not sure. For
Okay,
Dustin,
then.
yeah, for Dustin, I brought him some new platform shoes because I knew the other ones you were wearing out. Now, Mark, I got you a present there. If you want to go ahead and open that. I hope you like it, Mark. It's a new shirt. It's a Seahawks logo, and it says, "I've got a golden ticket." And I've heard you singing that around Niner Nation, so I want you to wear that with pride if you would, sir.
I will. I'm just hoping a red laser doesn't appear on either my back or my chest, but I'll enjoy it quite a bit.
That would be wonderful. And Laura and Brad, I haven't forgotten you as well. Here's your present. I've gotten you a present. It's a gallon jug of face paint remover. Face paint remover. I'm sure you will enjoy that as well.
I'll use it more than she does.
That's very true. That's very true. But and then Will, I've got you a gift as well. Will, I hope you enjoy that. It's a huge foam mollywopping hand, so you can enjoy that, my friend. Mollywop anyone you can with that.
I've got a certain Cowboy fan. If we play them again, I will definitely need that for.
Wonderful, wonderful. And I must be off, unfortunately. Mrs. Seahawk Claus is texting me, and she's a real animal after the Hawker days. I'm sure you can understand. Talk about your beast mode in the sack. But I won't talk about that now because this is a family show. So happy hockey days, everyone, from Seahawk Claus. I hope that you enjoyed your presents, and I'm now off to enjoy my day off. Goodbye, everyone. Happy holidays. And go Seahawks.
You're listening to the 12th Man Fan Jam on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel.
Merry New Year!
Happy New Year. In this country, we say Happy New Year.
Ha 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 ha! Thank you for correcting my English, which stinks. I am Nanja Ibuko, exchange student from Cameroon. Ha 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 ha!
It's the third quarter, bitches.
Yes, welcome back to the third quarter of a very special Rams edition, part 2 of the 12th Man Fan Jam. Sorry I had to step out there for a minute. I hope Seahawk Claus was okay. Will, did he do all right?
He did fine, Moses. No worries.
Oh, good. I'm glad. He left me a recliner so I can stay home because the 2 games I went to this year and with the Seahawks, they lost. So I will be staying home for the playoffs. It looks like, and probably.
I think that's a
Super
good
Bowl.
idea, Moses.
Yeah, I think I might do that this year, but we'll take care of that next year. We'll win next year, and we'll get that taken care of. This is the time of the show where we talk about the game coming up and what a game we have coming up. 4:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1:25 Seattle time in Seattle. Seahawks, Rams, and I don't have to tell you how important this game is. Home field advantage in all likelihood. Unlikely that the Lions and the Packers will tie. And if they don't tie, then it's going to be for the number one seed. And everyone in the world knows how important the Seahawks are playing at home. Although I think you could argue that this team could travel well. If something bad happens, I think we're still in good shape. But at home, I think this team is pretty amazing, and I think we all know that. So, Brad and Laura, the Rams come in this game. They've got nothing to lose. They beat us before with a couple trick plays. How did the Rams beat the Seahawks Sunday?
They make it a field position game, and they beat us with field goals because that kicker has got an amazing leg. But
I think the only way they can beat us is if we just don't show up.
yeah, or if we take the day off.
And with this team, that just doesn't seem to happen, does it?
Absolutely not, especially right now. These guys are so fired up and just on all cylinders. I just don't see it.
They have the mission, and they have the mission plan, and they have everything right in their sights, and they got it all. They got it going on.
They're barking right now. They're barking, baby. They want to go now. They're barking. But Will, how do the Rams stand a chance? I mean, I kind of agree with what they said. Field position and let Legatron, kick a lot of field goals. Are you kind of thinking the same thing?
Well, Moses, one thing I really have not liked to see in Rams games in recent years is just how dirty they've been playing. When they came to town last year, they took a lot of cheap shots. They got a lot of personal foul penalties. We saw what happened with the game against the Giants last week with all the fighting going on. Honestly, the only thing that worries me about this game is if they take a cheap shot and injure one of our guys. But also, they need to be careful not to get goaded into any stupid penalties. No retaliation, no nothing. The Rams try to pull something cheap, just smile and point at the scoreboard and walk away.
Yeah, I agree with that. That is a big concern. Yes, Brad and Laura.
No, I just was going to say that Mr. Lockett needs to be emphasized there, loving to death, but he has a tendency to fly off the handle.
As well as Matt's favorite player, Thorold Simon, who seems to have to be babysit quite often in games by Sherman and Chancellor and Thomas. And if he's playing this week, which I know he was hurt a little bit, so I don't know if he's going to be playing this week. But Thorold Simon
he's
also
listed as probable, so I'm guessing he'll get some time.
So Thorold Simon needs to watch himself as well, and I agree, Lockett as well. Zorny, how the Rams win this game?
The way, it was a lot of trickery, a lot of smoke and mirrors with these guys. So, it's kind of like 4 calling birds, 3 French hens, 2 turtle doves, a partridge, and 6 special teams trick plays,
That was beautiful. That was poetry.
Very festive prediction.
Yeah.
You know what? We got to respect them. But again, Brad Laura mentioned, what's key is, a field position. They're going to really have to grind this game out and grind it to a halt and have, what's his name? Legatron, probably win this thing for him. I don't know if Zach Stacy's even playing. Of course, I don't follow the Rams much, so I don't know what their health is. But they do play hard, and they are a determined team, and they got nothing to lose. So they love to spoil our home field. But, they're at a huge disadvantage, obviously, coming to the clink. And one way or another, we're going to get this win.
My nephew, as some of you know, is a diehard Rams fan, and I love him anyway. But we were talking about the game, and he did say this, and I think this is something that we have to be concerned about. He said, if we go 7-9 if we win, but it's been a great season if we can sweep the Seahawks. And I think the Rams players are probably in that same vein. If we can just beat this team twice, we've had a great season. I don't care what our record is. So they're going to come out, I think, and really want to win this game. I think when you play a team this lopsided and you're at Seattle and you're on the road and you're this lopsided, you have to count on the home team shooting themselves in the foot, either with penalties or turnovers. And you just don't get turnovers from this team like you do other big teams. And I don't think they can count on Russell Wilson making a bad throw. I don't think they can count on a bad timed penalty that's going to wind up costing the game. They have to hope for the penalty, I think, more than the turnover, because I think penalties are something this team's had a problem with. And let's face it, the Cardinals' best offense last week for the first half was penalties for the Seahawks. So if they can use that to their advantage, like you said, get them close enough to where Legatron can kick some field goals, keep it close to the fourth, and then one big play. If they can get one big play, then I think they can do it. But I don't think it's going to happen. And Brad and Laura, how are the Seahawks going to win this game?
By staying focused and knowing exactly what they have in mind. And I don't really see this being a letdown game. I see this as, I know Sherman is going to be wanting to have some revenge for what happened when they were down there. I know that the special teams coach is going to have his guys ready for anything. And we play Seahawk football. And we're the ones that, was our old buddy Chuck Knox once said that a football game consists of 5 big plays. And if you make 3 of those, you'll win every time. Well, I say we make 4 of those plays and call it a day.
Yeah, I agree with you. And Will, do you think it helps the Seahawks, the fact that they lost that first game? You think that's a factor?
Well, first off, I just want to state for the record that I think Legatron is a really stupid nickname. Sorry. Just got to say it. But as far as whether the first game was is going to be a factor this time, I don't think so. And more than any other team I've ever seen, this team really does approach each week with a championship mindset. There are a lot of things that went wrong in that last game. We had just done the Percy Harvin trade. Bobby Wagner was out. Cam Chancellor, I don't know if he played, but if he did, he was gimpy. And then they fooled us on those special teams plays. But so I don't think they're really interested in making up for that game. I think they're just approaching it the same way as they approach every game every week, and that's why I think they're going to win. They're just going to grind it out and then bust it open.
If I remember right, I believe Chancellor did play, but I think Chancellor was one of those, is he or isn't he going to play at that point? I think he was pretty gimpy, and it was debated on whether or not he was actually going to play or not, because I remember telling my son, oh, thank God Cam Chancellor's going to play, because I remember going up to the game.
And Derek Coleman broke his leg in warm-up, so we didn't have a fullback in that game.
Right, exactly right. And, of course, the fake punt that worked, and I was actually there, and I fell for it too. I didn't know why everybody was cheering. And I looked over, and there they are running with the ball. I mean, I fell for that fake kickoff, that fake punt myself. And then the 4th and 3 where you didn't cover the guys, that's, it was a couple of fluke plays is why they won that game. And I just don't think in Seattle that's going to happen. Zornie, how do you think?
And remember, Marshawn almost didn't get on the bus.
That's right, because he was so upset about Harvin. That's exactly right. Zornie, how do you think this game's going to turn out for the Seahawks to win? What do they need to do?
Just kind of to echo the thoughts of everybody else. It's we're so focused right now. This defense is on fire, and the Rams gave up. Let's not forget the Rams gave up, I believe, 37 points to the New York Giants in St. Louis last week, and so. I think their secondary, again, without really looking into it, it's got to be banged up. I think actually of course it's going to start off with Lynch running, but I anticipate Wilson and our receivers having another good day, even with, I guess, Curses out. But I think we still have enough firepower there to put them in the hole early. And once the Rams, if they fall behind 7-10-0, 14-0 or whatever, they're really hosed, because now they're forced to pass more than they would like to, and that's where we pin our ears back defensively and just tee off on them.
I think that's the way it's going to go. And really, let's talk about the passing game a little bit, because Wilson had a big game, of course. Luke Wilson had a big game, and Baldwin, the last 3 or 4 games, 6-7 catches, almost 100 yards of these games. He's really come on. And I really like the way Richardson has come along. I think he's come along, you may say slowly, but as a receiver, a rookie receiver, they say that's one of the most difficult positions to learn in football outside of quarterback is receiver. He's really come along. I'm not worried that much about Kurtz being out. I think it's a factor, but I think that Richardson's going to step in nicely. I really do.
Big opportunity for Norwood to step up this week too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I really like Norwood. I can see why they like him so much. Big body, good hands. A good receiver as well. I think that's the way it's going to go. Let's go ahead and take a break here.
It's the end of the third quarter, bitches.
This is the end of the third quarter, and we will come back. We will have our predictions, our prognostications, and our game balls right after the station identification.
You're listening to the 12th Man Fan Jam on the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel.
The Rams suck. So let me see. Got to come up with a prediction for this week's game. I'm predicting a lot of St. Louis fans will be changing the channel pretty early in the game Sunday.
And now it's time for the fourth quarter of the 12th Man Fan Jam. Here to lead us through the final quarter is once again our host, the self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Allen Church of Seahawk Positivity.
Yes, welcome to the fourth and final quarter of the 12th Man Fan Jam, where we sit around and make our predictions, prognostications, and game balls for the upcoming game between your defending Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks and St. Louis Rams as they get ready to tangle in CenturyLink Field this Sunday. The Seahawks have home field advantage, division title, all wrapped up in one game in all likelihood, and the Rams are just hoping to finish with a record that's better than the 49ers. If they can win and the 49ers lose, I believe they're 7-9, but I think the Rams have a better head-to-head. So both teams kind of playing for something. I think the Seahawks play for something a little bit more important than the Rams. But that being as it may, we will start with our wonderful guests. Cannot thank them enough for being on the show, stopping by and saying hi. Brad and Laura. Brad, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing anyone wonderful. If I was any better, I'd be twins.
Well, I think we're all thankful that didn't happen. But do you have a game ball, a prognostication, and a prediction for us, sir?
Game ball prognostication. I'm going to give that game ball to Mr. Earl Thomas because he is due. He was close on a couple big plays last week. He's always there, but this is the game where he just jumps up and people will start really talking about him again. Legion of Boom in general, but Mr. Thomas jumps to the forefront this week. This is going to be a not close a game as everyone's talking. I'm saying we win this sucker 30-3.
Woo! And what kind of prognostication is Earl Thomas going to have? Some kind of interception or?
Yeah, he'll have at least a couple picks in this game.
Ooh, 2 picks. 2 picks by E. Thomas?
By Earl Thomas, yep. Even if it means one gets tipped to him by Mr. Sherman, that he's coming with 2 picks in this game.
Excellent, excellent. Laura, always great to hear from you, ma'am.
Always wonderful to be here.
I miss you when you're not here.
We got to do it more often.
Yes, we do. Prediction, prognostication, and game ball, please.
Let's see. I'm going to give the game ball to Wilson. I think he's going to have another over 300 yards passing and over 100 yards rushing. Let's see. I'm going to do the score a little bit closer, I think. I'm going to go with 27-6. And I believe that our secondary is going to have a pick 6.
Excellent, excellent stuff. Thank you so much. Statsman Mark, what you got for us?
Well, let's see. I'll go with the kind of an obvious choice defensively as well. And I'll say that Wagner has, let's call it a dozen tackles even. And let's see what else. Well, score-wise, I've been spamming Seahawk forums with 31-13, so I'll stick with that. and I'll give the game ball to Wagner as well.
All right. Well done. Will, always great hearing from you.
Thanks for asking.
Yeah. What you got for us?
Well, I'm thinking Seattle's going to win this game 24-10. And I think Wilson is going to have 2 touchdown passes, 1 to each of our rookie receivers. My prognostication is that Richardson and Norwood both wind up with touchdowns in this game. And as for my game ball, I am going to give it to Marshawn Lynch because I think he is just going to grind and grind and grind and then break one open and just beat this Ram defense into submission.
Thanks for asking. Yeah. I am, this is a big game, and this team relishes the big games, and I just don't see at home that this is going to be anything more but a big celebration of we're back. And by back, I mean we're back number 1 seed, and we're back to where we were last year, which is you're going to have to go through Seattle to get to the Super Bowl, and I don't think anybody's even going to do that. 34-13, Seahawks over Rams. Richardson is going to get my game ball. I'm going with a touchdown for Richardson and at least 80 yards or more receiving for P. Rich, as they like to call him. Wow. Looks like it's time to bring another wonderful and amazing 12th Man Fan Jam to a sad close. We are so glad that you all decided to waste some time with us. It was, as usual, a show that raised the bar here at the Seahawk Positivity YouTube channel. How could it not without lovely Brad and lovely Laura here? I mean, honestly. You guys are the best. Yeah. We certainly hope you laughed a little and maybe you just learned a little something along the way. And what did we learn this evening? Well, we learned that Ohio is not a great state. We learned that you don't say you're going to take a hometown discount in the NFL. We learned Titans are slump busters of the NFL. And we also learned that Seahawk Claus is real. So, on behalf of Statsman Mark, our Newshound Shadowhawk Will, our wonderful, fantastic guests, Brad and Laura, Hockey Chick and Cannonball, this is your self-appointed Reverend Moses of the St. Paul Island Church of Seahawk Positivity saying, enjoy the game Sunday. Let's slow clap it out, everybody. And finally, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Yeah.
Keep clapping. Pass the piece.
Thanks for asking.
Thanks for asking.